The Great Hall of the Galactic Council stretched higher than most buildings on Earth. Thousands of beings from across the galaxy filled the massive space, their voices creating a buzz that echoed off the crystal walls. The air itself seemed to shimmer with different atmospheres needed by various species. Ambassador Velther stood at the center speaking platform. His blue skin gleamed under the artificial lights, and his forearms moved as he spoke to the crowd. The Krillian Empire had ruled 12 star systems for over 1,000 years. When Velther spoke, others listened. "Fellow beings of the galaxy," his voice boomed through the hall, "we face a problem that threatens our very way of life. The humans of Earth refuse to pay their taxes. They refuse to join us as they should. They think they can stand alone against all of us." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some species nodded their various heads in agreement. Others made sounds that might have been laughter in their languages. Velther raised one of his hands, and the hall fell quiet. But that is not the worst part. Do you know how they have responded to our final warning? Do you know what Earth has sent to face the combined might of our fleets? He pressed a button on his speaking device. A holographic image appeared above the crowd. It showed a single ship floating in space near Earth's moon. The ship looked small and simple. It had smooth lines and appeared to be made of some kind of dark metal. "One ship," Velther said, his voice full of mock surprise. "The humans have sent us one tiny ship," the hall erupted. Beings laughed, roared, chittered, and made whatever sounds passed for amusement in their species. The sound was so loud that the crystal walls vibred. Ambassador Quender of the Ethereal Collective floated up from her seat. Her translucent body glowed with what humans might have called amusement. "Perhaps they do not understand numbers. Should we send them a mathematics teacher instead of a fleet?" More laughter filled the hall. Even the usually serious representatives from the mineral worlds were making grinding sounds that meant they found something funny. Velther waited for the noise to die down. "Our combined fleets number over 10 million ships. We have dreadnoughts that can crack planets in half. We have battle stations the size of moons, and Earth sends us one small ship with what? Maybe 50 crew members?" "Maybe they think it is a very special ship," called out someone from the back. This caused another wave of laughter. "Special indeed," Velther replied. "Our intelligence reports say it has no visible weapons, no massive engines, no armor plating we can detect. It looks like something they might use to carry supplies between their cities." Far away from the Galactic Council, on a planet called Earth, Captain Minho Park stood looking at that same ship. But he was not laughing. His dark eyes studied every detail of the vessel that floated in the construction bay above him. The ship was called the Defiance, and to Minho it was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen. Every line had been planned. Every surface had been tested hundreds of times. The dark metal was not just pretty to look at. It was made from materials that did not exist anywhere else in the galaxy. "Captain Park," a voice called from behind him. He turned to see Navigator Jiwon Kim walking toward him. She was young for such an important job, but Minho trusted her completely. Her mind could handle calculations that would make most computers give up. "The final tests are complete," Jiwon said. "All systems are working perfectly. We can launch whenever you give the order," Minho nodded. "And the crew?" "Ready and eager," Jiwon replied. "Taeyun has been running checks on the engine systems for 3 days straight. I think he loves those machines more than most people love their families. Somin has been practicing her speeches. She wants to make sure she says the right words when we meet them." "And Dr. Hyunwoo?" Jiwon smiled. "He has not slept in 2 days. He keeps making small changes to the quantum systems. He says each change makes us a little bit safer." Minho looked back at the ship. "Do you think we are crazy, Jiwon? The whole galaxy is waiting for us. They have more ships than we have people on Earth." Jiwon was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "My grandmother used to tell me a story. A long time ago, a small mouse lived in a house with a big cat. The cat was always trying to catch the mouse. One day, the mouse got tired of running and hiding. So the mouse put on a lion costume and walked right up to the cat. The cat was so surprised that it ran away and never bothered the mouse again. "And what is the lesson of this story?" Minho asked. "Sometimes the best way to win is to do something no one expects." At that moment, Engineer Taeyun Lee came running toward them. His face was covered in sweat, and his hands were dirty from working on the engines. But he was smiling like a child with a new toy. "Captain," he called out while still running, "the quantum displacement system is ready. I have never seen anything work so perfectly. When we activate it, we will be able to do things that should be impossible." "Explain it to me one more time," Minho said. In simple words, Taeyun took a deep breath. "Most ships in the galaxy work like hammers. They hit things hard in hope. To break them, our ship works like a ghost. We can be there and not there at the same time. Their weapons will try to hit us, but we will not be where they think we are. We will not be where we think we are either." "That sounds very confusing," Jiwon said. "It is confusing," Taeyun agreed. "That is what makes it work. The universe is a confusing place. Most species try to make it simple. We learn to make it more confusing." Communications Officer Somin Choi joined their group. She was carrying a datapad and looked nervous. "Captain, we just received another message from the Galactic Council. They are giving us one final chance to surrender. They say if we do not turn around and go home, they will destroy Earth." Minho took the datapad and read the message. It was full of big words and threats. It talked about the power of the galaxy and how small Earth was compared to everything else. It promised that resistance was useless and that humans would be better off as servants than as enemies. "What should I tell them?" Soman asked. Minho looked at his crew. These 3 people had worked with him for over a year to build this moment. They had given up normal lives to be part of something that might save their world or might get them all killed. "Tell them we received their message," Minho said. "Tell them Earth's answer is on its way." He turned to face the Defiance again. "All crew to boarding positions. We launch in 1 hour." As his crew ran to prepare for departure, Minho stayed behind for a few more minutes. He thought about his home planet below them. Earth was small compared to the galaxy. Humans were new, compared to most species out there. But being small and new did not mean being weak. Dr. Yunwoo Nam appeared beside him as if from nowhere. The old scientist moved very quietly for such an important person. His gray hair was messy and his eyes looked tired, but his voice was strong. "The calculations are complete," Dr. Hyunwoo said. "We can do this, Captain. The quantum displacement technology will work. But once we start, there will be no going back. The galaxy will know what we can do." "Is that bad?" Minho asked. "It is change," Dr. Hyunwoo replied. "And change always scares people. But sometimes change is the only way to survive." 1 hour later, the Defiance left Earth's orbit. It was small and quiet as it moved through space. To anyone watching, it looked like the least dangerous thing in the galaxy, but appearances, as the galaxy was about to learn, could be very wrong indeed. The Defiance had been traveling through space for 3 weeks. Captain Minho Park stood on the bridge, watching the stars move past them on the main screen. The ship was quiet except for the soft hum of the engines and the occasional beep from the control panels. Navigator Jiwon Kim sat at her station, checking their course for the 100th time that day. Her fingers moved quickly over the controls as she made small adjustments to their path. They were heading toward the center of the galaxy, where the most powerful species lived. "How much longer until we reach the inner systems?" Minho asked. "About 2 days at our current speed," Jiwon replied. "But Captain, I am seeing something on the long-range sensors." Engineer Taeyun Lee looked up from his engine controls. "What kind of something?" Jiwon studied her screens more carefully. "Ships, 12 of them. They are moving toward us very fast. The computer says they are Vorthan interceptors." Communications Officer Somin Choi pressed buttons on her panel. "I am trying to contact them, but they are not responding to our calls." Dr. Yunwoo Nam walked onto the bridge carrying a cup of tea. The old scientist looked calm, as if they were not about to meet enemy ships. The Vorthans are known for attacking first and asking questions later. They believe that showing strength is more important than showing wisdom. How dangerous are their ships? Minho asked. Taeyun checked his computer. Each interceptor has plasma cannons, quantum torpedoes, and gravitic mines. 12 ships like that could destroy a small moon. And what about us? Minho asked. Are we ready? Dr. Hyunwoo sipped his tea. We are as ready as we can be. The quantum displacement system is working perfectly. But this will be our first real test. Soman turned around in her chair. Captain, the Vorthan ships are getting closer. They will? Be here in 10 minutes. Minho nodded. Red alert. All crew to battle stations, but remember, we are not here to start a war. We just want to pass through their space. The bridge lights changed to red, and alarms sounded throughout the ship. Even though the Defiance only had 50 crew members, everyone knew their job. They had trained for this moment many times. The Vorthan ships are dropping out of hyperspace, Jiwon announced. They are surrounding us. On the main screen, 12 sleek ships appeared around the Defiance. They were larger than the human ship and covered with weapons. Their hulls were painted with the red and black colors of the Vorthan. Military, incoming transmission, Soman said. Put it on screen, Minho ordered. The image of a Vorthan commander appeared on the main screen. He had gray skin, large yellow eyes, and a mouth full of sharp teeth. His uniform was covered with medals that showed he had won many battles. Human. Ship, the commander said in a harsh voice. I am Commander Zektar of the Vorthan Third Fleet. You are trespassing in our space. Surrender now or be destroyed. Minho stepped forward. Commander, this is Captain Minho Park of the Earth vessel Defiance. We are traveling to the Galactic Council on peaceful business. We request safe passage through your territory. Commander. Zektar made a sound that might have been laughter. Peaceful business? The entire galaxy knows why you are here. You think one small ship can threaten the Council? You are either very brave or very stupid. Perhaps both, Minho replied calmly. But we will continue on our course. We have no wish to fight you. You have no choice, Zektar said. Surrender your ship, and we will take you to a prison planet. Refuse, and we will turn you into space dust. Minho looked at his crew. Dr. Hyunwoo gave him a small nod. Taeyun's hands were ready on his controls. Jiwon was already calculating escape routes. Soman waited for orders. Commander Zektar, Minho said, I will give you one chance to reconsider. Move your ships aside, and no one gets hurt. This time Zektar did laugh. You threaten us? 12 interceptors against one cargo ship? You humans are even more foolish than we thought. The transmission ended. On the main screen, they could see the Vorthan ships moving into attack formation. They are charging their weapons, Jiwon reported. All 12 ships are targeting us. Dr. Hyunwoo, Minho said, initialize the quantum displacement system. The old scientist moved to a special control panel that only he understood. His fingers danced over controls that looked nothing like the rest of the ship's equipment. System ready, Captain. We can activate on your command. Soman, broadcast this message on all frequencies, Minho ordered. This is the Earth vessel Defiance. We seek passage to address the Galactic Council. Stand aside. Message sent, Captain, Soman replied. Commander Zektar's voice came over the radio. Fire all weapons. Destroy that ship. The space around the Defiance exploded with light and energy. Plasma bolts, quantum torpedoes, and gravitic mines struck the human ship from all directions. The attack was so fierce that it lit up the darkness of space like a small star. Hull breach on Deck 3. Someone shouted over the intercom. Life support failing, called another voice, but these were not real reports. They were recordings that Soman was broadcasting to make the Vorthans think they were winning. Now, Dr. Hyunwoo, Minho said quietly. The scientist pressed a single button. The universe changed from the outside. The Defiance seemed to shimmer like heat waves on a hot day. For a moment, it looked like the ship was in several places at once. Then the weapon's fire passed right through empty space where the ship had been. Impossible! Commander Zektar shouted over the radio. Where did they go? Inside the Defiance, everything felt normal. The crew could still see the Vorthan ships on their screens. They could still hear the enemy commander's confused orders. But something was different. The stars looked strange, as if they were seeing them through water. Quantum displacement active? Dr. Hyunwoo reported. We are now existing in a state of superposition. We are here, but we are also not here. Taeyun stared at his instruments. The Vorthan weapons are passing right through us. It is like we are ghosts. More than ghosts, Dr. Hyunwoo corrected. Ghosts do not exist. We exist, but not in the same way that normal matter exists. We are in between states of reality. On the main screen, they watched the Vorthan ships firing at empty space. The commanders were shouting orders that made no sense. Some ships were shooting at their own allies. By mistake. Captain, Jiwon said, I am detecting massive energy readings from their ships. They are overloading their weapons trying to hit us. They will hurt themselves if they keep this up, Taeyun observed. Minho made a decision. Soman, open a channel. To all Vorthan ships. Channel open, Captain. Commander Zektar, this is Captain Park. Please stop firing. You are only wasting energy and endangering your own crews. How are you doing this? Zektar demanded. What kind of trickery is this? No trickery, Minho replied. Just a different way of looking at the universe. We will be on our way now. Thank you for the warm welcome. Wait, Zektar shouted. You cannot just leave. Fight us properly. But the Defiance was already moving. It did not use hyperspace or warp drive like other ships. Instead, it simply stepped sideways through reality. One moment it was surrounded by Vorthan interceptors. The next moment it was light years away. Dr. Hyunwoo turned off the quantum displacement system. The strange feeling faded and the stars looked normal again. That was interesting, Jiwon said, checking their new position. We are exactly where I calculated we would be. The Vorthans are probably still shooting at empty space, Taeyun laughed. They will report this to their superiors? Soman said. Word will spread quickly. Minho sat down in his captain's chair. Good, let them talk. The more they talk, the more curious others will become. Dr. Hyunwoo returned to his tea, which had somehow stayed warm during the entire encounter. The first test is complete. The system worked perfectly. But Captain, the next tests will be much harder. Why? Minho asked. Because now they know we exist. And they will be ready for us. Word traveled fast across the galaxy. Commander Zektar's report about the human ship had reached every major military headquarters within hours. Most commanders did not believe it at first. A ship that could not be hit? Weapons that passed through. Empty space? It sounded like stories parents told children to make them sleep, but the Vorthan commander had sensor recordings. His 12 ships had fired everything they had at one small human vessel. The energy readings showed direct hits. But the human ship had taken no damage at all. Then it had simply vanished and appeared somewhere else without using any known type? Of engine. Admiral Catherine of the Zephyrian battle hives read the report for the third time. His insect-like eyes moved quickly across the data. The Zephyrians were known throughout the galaxy for their military tactics. They used thousands of small ships working together like a swarm of angry bees. Summon my fleet commanders, Admiral. Kethron ordered his assistant. If this human ship wants to reach the core worlds, it must pass through our territory. We will show them what real military power looks like. Meanwhile, the Defiance continued its journey toward the center of the galaxy. Captain Minho Park studied the star charts with navigator Jawan Kim. The path ahead would take them through some of the most heavily defended space in the galaxy. The next system belongs to the Zephyrians, Jawan said, pointing to a cluster of red dots on the map. Intelligence reports say they have over 50,000 ships stationed there. Engineer Taeyun Lee looked up from his work. 50,000? That seems like a lot for one system. The Zephyrians do not build big ships like other species, Dr. Hyunwoo Nam explained as he joined them on the bridge. They believe that many small ships are better than a few large ones. Each ship is only about the size of a fighter craft, but they work together perfectly. Communications Officer Somin Choi turned around in her chair. Captain, I am receiving multiple transmissions from the Zephyrian system. They are demanding that we stop and prepare to be boarded. What are they saying exactly? Minho asked. Somin read from her screen. They say that no ship may pass through their space without permission. They want to inspect our cargo and crew. If we refuse, they will consider us hostile. Minho looked out at the stars ahead. And if we agree to be boarded? They will probably arrest us and turn us over to the Galactic Council, Dr. Hyunwoo said. The Zephyrians are very loyal to the Council. They follow orders without question. Then we continue on our current course, Minho decided. Somin, send them a message. Tell them we are on a peaceful mission to the Galactic Council. We mean no harm to anyone, but we will not be stopped. As the Defiance entered the Zephyrian system, the crew could see what they were facing. The main screen showed a sight that would have terrified most species. Thousands upon thousands of small ships filled the space around them. They moved in perfect formation like schools of fish in Earth's oceans. I count 47,312 ships, Jiwon reported. They are surrounding us on all sides. Each ship has 2 pilots and basic weapons, Kaiyun said, reading his sensors. Individually they are not very dangerous, but together ... Together they are like a storm, Dr. Hyunwoo finished. A storm made of metal and energy. The Zephyrian ships began to move closer. They did not attack immediately. Instead, they formed a perfect sphere around the Defiance. Every ship pointed its weapons at the human vessel. The formation was so precise that it looked like a work of art. Admiral Kethron's voice came over the radio. His translator made his clicking speech sound almost human. Earthship, you are completely surrounded. There is no escape. Surrender. Now, and we will treat you well, Minho stepped forward. Admiral, this is Captain Park. We have no wish to fight your people. Please let us pass. That is not possible, Admiral Kethron replied. The Galactic Council has declared you enemies. We must stop you here. Even if you could stop us, Minho said, what would that accomplish? We are only 50 people. What threat could we possibly be to the galaxy? Admiral Kethron made a sound that might have been laughter. You are right, human. 50 people cannot threaten the galaxy. But 50 people with impossible technology, that is different. The Admiral paused, then continued. We know what happened with the Vorthons. We know their weapons could not touch you. But we are not the Vorthons. We have different tactics. Suddenly, the Zephyrian ships began to move. They did not fire their weapons. Instead, they started flying in complex patterns around the Defiance. The patterns got faster and faster until the human ship was surrounded by a whirlwind of metal. What are they doing? Somin asked. Dr. Hyunwoo watched the enemy ships with interest. They are creating a gravitational field. All those ships moving in a circle will bend space around us. They think this will trap us. Will it work? Munho asked. Against a normal ship? Yes. Against us? Dr. Hyunwoo smiled. They are about to learn something new about physics. The Zephyrian ships spun faster and faster. The space around the Defiance began to twist and bend. On the main screen, the stars looked stretched and distorted. The gravitational forces should have crushed any normal ship, but the Defiance just sat there quietly as if nothing was happening. Impossible. Admiral Kethron shouted over the radio. The gravitational trap should be working. Admiral, Minho said calmly, gravity only works on things that exist in normal space. We are not in normal space right now. Dr. Hyunwoo had activated the quantum displacement system again. The Defiance existed in several states at once. It was there, but it was also not there. Gravity could not grab something that was uncertain about its own existence. The Zephyrian ship spun even faster, trying to create stronger gravitational forces. But it was like trying to catch smoke with a net. The harder they tried, the more frustrated they became. "Try the plasma web." Admiral Kethron ordered. Thousands of ships began firing at once, but not at the Defiance directly. Instead, they fired at the space around it, creating a web of energy that should have trapped anything inside. The plasma web was beautiful in a deadly way. Lines of pure energy crossed and recrossed around the human ship, forming patterns that glowed like rainbow fire. Any normal ship caught in such a web would be destroyed instantly, but the Defiance phased through the energy lines as if they were made of light instead of plasma. The ship moved slowly and calmly through the deadly web, untouched by the forces that should have killed everyone aboard. "This is not possible," Admiral Kethron said, but his voice was quieter now. "Our sensors show you are there. Our eyes show you are there, but our weapons act as if you are not there." "We are there, Admiral," Minho replied. "We are just there in a different way than you are used to." The Zephyrian fleet tried everything they could think of. They fired gravity bombs that should have crushed the Defiance into a ball of twisted metal. They used quantum disruptors that should have torn apart the ship's atomic structure. They even tried ramming attacks, sending ships directly at the human vessel. Nothing worked. Every attack passed harmlessly through the Defiance or around it. The human ship continued moving toward the center of the system as if 47,000 enemy ships were not trying to stop it. "Admiral," one of his commanders said over the fleet channel, "our ships are running low on power. We have been attacking for 3 hours with no effect." Admiral Kethron looked at his tactical display. His perfect formations were starting to break apart. Ships were colliding with each other in their desperate attempts to hit the human vessel. Some had overloaded their weapons and were drifting helplessly in space. "All ships, cease fire," he ordered reluctantly. "Return to defensive positions." The Zephyrian fleet pulled back, forming a loose circle around the Defiance but no longer attacking. The beautiful and deadly plasma web faded away. The gravitational trap stopped spinning. "Thank you, Admiral," Minho said. "You fought with great skill and honor. But we must continue our journey." "How?" Admiral Kethron asked. "How are you doing this?" Dr. Yunwu answered instead of the captain. "Your people are excellent at working together, Admiral. You understand that many small things can be stronger than one big thing. We learned something similar but different. We learned that something that is not quite real can be stronger than something that is completely real. That makes no sense," Admiral Kethron said. "Most new ideas do not make sense at first," Dr. Hyungwoo replied gently. "But give it time. Understanding will come." The Defiance moved past the Zephyrian fleet and continued toward the core worlds. Behind them, 47,000 ships floated in space, their crews trying to understand what they had just witnessed. Admiral Kethron sent an urgent message to the Galactic Council. His report was longer and more detailed than the Vorthan commander's report. But the conclusion was the same. The human ship could not be stopped by conventional weapons. The galaxy was beginning to realize that Earth's single ship might be more dangerous than anyone had imagined. The news about the human ship had reached every corner of the galaxy. 2 of the most powerful fleets had tried to stop one small vessel, and both had failed completely. The reports were so strange that many species thought they were fake. But the sensor recordings were real. The energy readings were real. The impossible was becoming possible. Grand Admiral Vex Moore of the Combined Galactic Defense Force stood in the command center of the largest space station ever built. The station was called Nexus Guard, and it orbited the capital world where the Galactic Council met. Around the station, the largest military force in galactic history was gathering. Ships arrived every hour from across the galaxy. Massive dreadnoughts that could destroy entire cities. Battle cruisers covered with weapons. Carrier ships full of fighter craft. Support vessels carrying supplies and fuel. A combined fleet now numbered over 10 million ships. "Status report," Grand Admiral Vexmore ordered. His voice echoed through the command center. He was a member of the Titanus race, standing nearly 3 meters tall with gray stone-like skin and glowing red eyes. All fleets have reported in, sir, his aide replied. 10,400,732 ships? Ready for battle. We have representatives from every major military power in the galaxy. And the human ship? Still approaching, sir. Current speed suggests they will arrive in 18 hours. Grand Admiral Vexmore looked at the tactical display, showing all the ships under his command. Each dot of light represented incredible firepower. Together, they could turn entire star systems into cosmic dust. One ship, he said to himself. How can one ship cause so much trouble? Meanwhile, aboard the Defiance, Captain Minho Park and his crew were preparing for the largest battle in galactic history. They knew what waited for them at Nexus Prime. Long-range sensors showed the massive fleet gathering around the capital world. 10 million ships, Navigator Juan Kim said, reading her instruments. I have never seen so many ships in one place. The gravitational effects alone should be causing problems for them. They are probably having to constantly adjust their positions to avoid collisions, Engineer Taeyun Lee observed. Managing that many ships must be like trying to herd cats. Dr. Yunwoo Nam entered the bridge carrying his usual cup of tea. Despite everything they were facing, the old scientist looked calm. The quantum displacement system is ready for full activation. But Captain, once we use it at full power, there will be no hiding what we can do. What exactly happens at full power? Communications Officer Somin Choi asked. Dr. Hyunwoo sat down at his special control station. At 30% power, we can phase through attacks. At full power, we can exist in multiple quantum states simultaneously. We can be in many places at once. That sounds impossible, Jiwon said. Most things about quantum physics sound impossible, Dr. Yunwoo replied. But impossible and untrue are not the same thing. Captain Minho studied the tactical display. 10 million enemy ships arranged in defensive formations around Nexus Prime. It was the most beautiful and terrifying sight he had ever seen. Soman, prepare a message for broadcast to all ships in the system, he ordered. Ready, Captain. Record this to all galactic forces defending Nexus Prime. This is Captain Minho Park of the Earth vessel Defiance. We come in peace to address the Galactic Council. We have no wish to harm anyone. Please allow us to pass. Message recorded and ready to transmit, Soman replied. Send it when we enter the system. The Defiance dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Nexus Prime system. Immediately, every sensor in the galaxy seemed to focus on the small human ship. On the main screen, the crew could see the massive fleet waiting for them. It looks like a metal moon, Taeyun said in wonder. So many ships packed together. Grand Admiral Vexmore's voice boomed across all frequencies. Human ship, you are outnumbered 10 million to 1. This is your final chance to surrender. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. Minho stepped forward. Grand Admiral, we have come to speak to the Galactic Council. We are not here to fight anyone. The time for talking is over, Vexmore replied. You have refused every reasonable offer. You have ignored every warning. Now you face the consequences. What consequences? Minho asked calmly. The complete and total destruction of your ship and everyone aboard. Minho looked at his crew. They had trained for this moment, but training was different from reality. 10 million ships against 50 people. The odds were so impossible that they almost seemed funny. Dr. Yunwoo, Minho said quietly, take us to full quantum displacement. The old scientist's fingers moved over his controls. Full power activation in 3.2. Now. The universe exploded. From the perspective of the galactic fleet, the human ship suddenly became very strange. It flickered like a broken hologram. Sometimes it looked solid. Sometimes it looked transparent. Sometimes it seemed to be in several places at once. Then it began to multiply. 1 Defiance became 2. 2 became 4. 4 became 8. The multiplication continued until there seemed to be hundreds of human ships scattered throughout the system. Impossible, Grand Admiral Vexmore shouted. Where did all those ships come from? His science officer studied the sensor readings with confusion. Sir, the readings are very strange. Each ship shows up on our sensors, but they also do not show up. It is like they exist and do not exist at the same time. That makes no sense, Dexmore replied. No, sir, it does not make sense, but it is what our instruments are showing. Inside the real Defiance, the crew watched as their ship existed in multiple quantum states simultaneously. On their screens, they could see themselves from different angles and positions. It was confusing and amazing at the same time. We are everywhere and nowhere, Dr. Hyunwoo explained. We exist in quantum superposition. Each possible location. Where we might be is now real until someone observes us directly. My head hurts, Jiwon said, trying to understand. That is normal, Dr. Hyunwoo replied. Human brains are not designed to understand quantum mechanics easily. Grand Admiral Dexmore made a decision. All ships, open fire. Destroy every human vessel you can see. 10 million ships fired at once. The energy release was so massive that it created a small star in the middle of the system. Plasma bolts, quantum torpedoes, gravity bombs, and weapons that had no names in human language filled the space around. Nexus Prime, the attack was so powerful that it should have destroyed planets. The light was so bright that it temporarily blinded sensor systems across the galaxy. When the energy finally faded and the instruments cleared, everyone expected to see empty space where the human ships had been. Instead, they saw something impossible. The Defiance was still there. But now it was not just in multiple places. Was inside their ships? Dozens of human vessels appeared inside the largest dreadnoughts. Some materialized on the bridges of command ships. Others appeared in engine rooms and weapon bays. The quantum superposition allowed the Defiance to exist anywhere it might possibly be, including inside other ships. But the humans did not fire a single shot. Instead, Summon's voice echoed through every ship in the fleet. Her words came from the communication systems of 10 million vessels at once. Attention, galactic forces. You cannot harm what exists in quantum superposition. You cannot destroy what observes itself into reality. Your weapons cannot touch us. Because we are not completely here, but we can touch you. To prove her point, several of the Defiance's quantum copies gently bumped against the hulls of nearby ships. The touch was soft, but it proved that the human ship could interact with normal matter when it chose to. We could destroy your ships from the inside, Soman continued. We could disable your weapons, shut down your engines, or take control of your bridges. But we will not do these things because we are not here to hurt anyone. Grand Admiral Dexmore found his voice. What do you want? Captain Minho's voice replaced summons on the communication channels. We want to speak to the Galactic Council. We want to be treated as equals, not as servants. We want peace between Earth and the galaxy, and if we refuse, then we will stay here until you change your minds. We have all the time in the universe. After all, time moves differently when you exist in quantum superposition. The 10 million ships of the galactic fleet floated in space, their weapons useless against an enemy that could be everywhere and nowhere at once. For the first time in galactic history, the combined defense force had met something it could not destroy. Grand Admiral Dexmore looked at his tactical display. According to his instruments, there were now human ships inside every major vessel in his fleet. They were not threatening anyone, but their mere presence made it clear who was really in control of the situation. Stand down all weapons, he ordered reluctantly. Send a message to the Galactic Council. Tell them the humans have arrived. The Great Hall of the Galactic Council looked very different from the last time representatives had gathered there. 3 weeks ago, they had been laughing at humanity's single ship. Now the same beings sat in complete silence, afraid to make even the smallest sound. Captain Minho Park stood in the center of the hall where Ambassador Velther had mocked Earth just weeks before. But Minho was not gloating or making threats. He looked tired, like someone who had traveled a very long journey and just wanted it to end peacefully. Behind him stood his crew. Navigator Ji-won Kim carried a datapad with Earth's official terms. Engineer Tae-yun Lee held a small device that could demonstrate their quantum technology safely. Communications Officer Somin Choi had prepared speeches in 47 different languages. Dr. Hyunwoo Nam carried his usual cup of tea and looked around the hall with curious eyes. The Defiance was parked outside the council building. It looked exactly like the ship they had laughed at before, but now everyone knew what it could really do. 10 million ships still surrounded the planet, but their weapons were powered down. There was no point in having weapons that could not hit their target. Ambassador Velther stood up slowly. His blue skin looked pale and his forearms shook slightly. Captain Park, he said, the Galactic Council recognizes your arrival. What are your demands? We have no demands, Minho replied calmly. We have a proposal. This surprised many of the representatives. They had expected threats and ultimatums. Instead, the human captain sounded like he wanted to make a business deal. Please explain your proposal, said Ambassador Quender of the Ethereal Collective. Her translucent body flickered nervously. Minho nodded to Jiwan, who stepped forward and began reading from her datapad. Earth proposes to join the Galactic Council as an equal member, not as a subordinate species. We will pay our fair share of taxes, the same percentage that other species pay based on our economy. That is reasonable, Velther admitted. G1 continued. Earth also proposes that the galactic taxation system be reviewed and reformed. Many smaller species are currently paying unfair amounts compared to their ability to pay. Some of the smaller species representatives looked surprised. They had not expected the humans to care about anyone else's problems. Furthermore, go on. Read, Earth offers to share our quantum displacement technology with any species that agrees to use it only for exploration and defense, never for aggressive warfare. The hall erupted. Every representative began talking at once. The idea of sharing such powerful technology was unthinkable to many species. They had spent thousands of years keeping their best weapons secret from each other. Ambassador Velther raised his hands for silence. You would give away your greatest advantage? Why? Dr. Hyunwoo stepped forward to answer. Because keeping it secret would not make the galaxy safer. It would make it more dangerous. If only humans have this technology, other species will spend all their time trying to steal it or destroy us. If everyone has it, no one can use it to threaten others. But what if someone uses your technology for evil purposes? Asked Representative Kless of the Silicon Confederacy. What if someone uses fire for evil purposes? Dr. Hyunwoo replied. Fire can burn down houses, but it can also cook food and provide warmth. Every tool can be used for good or evil. We believe most species will choose to use it for good. Ambassador Quender floated higher in the air. This technology of yours, it breaks many laws of physics that we thought were absolute. How did your species discover it? Minho answered this time. We discovered it because we had to. Earth is small and far from the center of the galaxy. We have no natural resources that other species want. We have no powerful weapons or huge fleets. When you demanded that we submit or be destroyed, we had two choices: find a new way to survive or die. So you chose to break the laws of physics? Velther asked. We chose to understand that the laws of physics are more flexible than most people think, Dr. Hyunwoo corrected gently. Quantum mechanics has always allowed for superposition and uncertainty. We just learned how to use these properties on a larger scale. Representative Morgak of the warrior clan stood up. He was a large, fierce-looking being covered in natural armor. You claimed to come in peace, but you demonstrated your power by invading our most secure system. You appeared inside our ships without permission. How is this peaceful? Minho looked directly at the warrior representative. Because we could have done much worse and we chose not to. We could have disabled your ship's life support systems. We could have taken control of your weapons and turned them against each other. We could have phased your ships into each other, destroying your entire fleet in seconds. The hall became very quiet as representatives realized how close they had come to complete disaster. But we did none of these things, Minho continued. We simply showed you that we could not be stopped by force. Then we asked politely to speak with you. And if we refuse your proposal? Asked Ambassador Velther. Then we will return to Earth and defend ourselves if attacked, Minho replied. But we hope you will not refuse because we believe our proposal benefits everyone. Representative Zindar of the Trade Federation asked, What guarantees do we have that humans will not use their technology to conquer other species? Soman stepped forward to answer. The same guarantee you have that any species will not become conquerors, none at all. But consider this. If we wanted to conquer the galaxy, would we be here asking for equal membership? Would we be offering to share our technology? Or would we have simply taken control of your fleets and demanded your surrender? Many representatives nodded at this logic. The humans had already proven they could defeat any military force in the galaxy. If they wanted to be conquerors, they could have started conquering already. Dr. Hyunwoo raised his hand. May I demonstrate something small? It might help you understand what we are offering. The council agreed, though some representatives moved nervously in their seats. Dr. Hyunwoo took a small metal sphere from Taeyun's device. He placed it on the floor in the center of the hall where everyone could see it. This sphere contains a miniature quantum displacement field, he explained. Watch carefully. He pressed a button on the device. The sphere began to flicker just like their ship had done, then it began to multiply. Soon there were dozens of spheres scattered around the hall. Each sphere is real, Dr. Hyunwoo said. But they are all the same sphere existing in multiple quantum states. Now watch this. He pressed another button. All the spheres except one disappeared. The quantum field has collapsed, and the sphere now exists in only one state. This is the basic principle behind our technology. Matter can exist in multiple states until it is observed or chooses to collapse into a single state. Representative Kleist studied the remaining sphere. And you would teach this to other species? We would teach it to species that agree to our peace treaty, Dr. Hyunwoo confirmed. The technology is not easy to understand or build. It would take most species many years to develop their own versions, but we would provide guidance and assistance. Ambassador Velther looked around the hall at his fellow representatives. Many were whispering to each other. Some looked excited by the possibilities. Others looked worried about the dangers. The Galactic Council will need time to consider your proposal, Velther announced. How much time? Minho asked. At least several days. This decision will affect the entire galaxy. We must consult with our home governments. Minho nodded. We understand. We will wait for your answer. But while you are deciding, perhaps you should ask yourselves one question. What question? Velther asked. Is it better to have humans as friends who share their knowledge or as enemies who keep their secrets? The council session ended with that question hanging in the air. As the representatives filed out of the hall, they all knew that the galaxy was about to change in ways they could not yet imagine. The age of human isolation was ending. What would replace it was still being decided. 6 months had passed since the Defiance arrived at Nexus Prime. The galaxy looked very different now. The old rules about strong species controlling weak ones were slowly disappearing. In their place, new agreements based on fairness and cooperation were being written. Admiral Minho Park stood on the bridge of his new flagship. The Unity. It was much larger than the Defiance, but it used the same quantum displacement technology. Around him, 11 other human ships patrolled the outer rim of the galaxy. These ships helped smaller species defend themselves against pirates and bullies. The Unity was not alone in its patrol. Ships from 12 different species flew alongside the human vessels. They had all learned to build their own quantum displacement systems with Earth's help. The technology was not easy to master, but the results were worth the effort. Captain Ji-won, Minho said to his former navigator, who now commanded her own ship, report on the Kepler system situation. Captain Ji-won Kim's image appeared on the main screen from her ship, the Explorer. The situation is resolved, Admiral. The Varnic raiders tried to attack the mining colony, but they could not hit our ships. When we appeared inside their vessels and politely asked them to leave, they decided that piracy was not profitable anymore. Any casualties? Minho asked. None, sir. The raiders were more confused than angry. I think they are still trying to figure out how we got inside their ships without using the doors. Engineer Tae-Yun Lee, now the head of the Galactic Technology Institute, appeared on another screen from his research station. Admiral, we have completed the quantum displacement system for the Zephyrian battle hives. Admiral Kethron says his swarm ships can now phase in and out of normal space. He is very excited about the new tactical possibilities. And the safety protocols? Minho asked. All installed and tested, Tae-Yun replied. The systems will not work if the ships are being used for aggressive warfare. They only function for defense and exploration. Dr. Yunwoo Nam entered the bridge carrying his ever-present cup of tea. The old scientist was now the director of quantum studies for the entire galaxy, but he still preferred to work on ships rather than in offices. Admiral, he said, sitting down at his familiar control station, I have been reviewing the ancient databases we discovered. The information about the architects is becoming clearer. Minho turned to face his old friend. What have you learned? The architects were indeed the first species to develop quantum displacement technology, Dr. Hyunwoo explained. They lived about 50,000 years ago and were very advanced. But they made a mistake that we must be careful not to repeat. What mistake? Minho asked. They tried to push the technology too far. They wanted to exist completely outside normal space and time. According to their records, they succeeded. But in doing so, they separated themselves from the physical universe entirely. Communications Officer So-Min Choi, now Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Council, joined the conversation from her office on Nexus Prime. Are you saying they are still alive somewhere? In a sense, yes, Dr. Hyunwoo replied. They exist in a state of pure quantum possibility. They can observe our universe, but they cannot interact with it directly. That sounds lonely, Jiwon said from her ship. It was probably meant to be a form of immortality, Dr. Hyunwoo continued. Instead, it became a prison. The architects can see everything that happens in the galaxy, but they cannot touch anything or speak to anyone. Minho studied the star charts on his screen. And you think they are trying to communicate with us? I am certain of it. The quantum signals we have been detecting match their technology exactly. They have been trying to warn us about something. Warn us about what? Tae-Yun asked. Dr. Hyung-woo's expression became serious. I am not sure yet, but the signals are getting stronger. Whatever they are trying to tell us, it is becoming more urgent. At that moment, alarms began sounding throughout the Unity. Sensor. Officer Park Damin turned from his station with a worried look. Admiral, we are detecting massive quantum distortions at the edge of the galaxy. Something very large is approaching from outside our space. How large? Minho asked. Larger than anything in our databases, sir. The energy readings are off our charts. Dr. Yunwoo quickly moved to his instruments. The quantum distortions match the architect signals, but they are much stronger than anything we have seen before. Could the architects be returning? So-Min asked. No, Dr. Hyunwoo replied. The architects cannot return to normal space. But something else can use their technology. Something that learned from their mistakes. On the main screen, a new image appeared. It showed the edge of the galaxy where space ended and the void began. But now, something was moving in that void. It was huge beyond imagination, bigger than entire star systems. What is that thing? Jiwon whispered. The object looked like a ship, but it was unlike any ship anyone had ever seen. It seemed to be made of crystallized space itself, with patterns that hurt to look at directly. As they watched, smaller objects separated from the main vessel and began moving toward the galaxy. Those smaller ships are still larger than our biggest space stations, Dongmin reported. And there are thousands of them. Dr. Yunwoo worked frantically at his controls. I am receiving the architect signals more clearly now. They are trying to tell us about these beings. Let me see if I can translate ... Double quantum signals formed patterns on his screen. Slowly, words began to appear in human language. Beware. The devourers, they consume realities, they turn possibilities into nothing. We escape them by leaving normal space. You cannot escape. You must fight. Minho felt a chill run down his spine. Devourers? More text appeared on Dr. Hyunwoo's screen. They come from a universe where quantum mechanics failed, where certainty destroyed possibility. They seek to make all realities like theirs, solid, unchanging, dead. How do we fight something like that? Taeyun asked. The architect message continued. Your quantum technology is the key. They cannot devour what exists in superposition, but you must unite all species, all ships, all weapons, one divided. Galaxy cannot stop them, Minho understood immediately. The Galactic Council had been reformed, but old rivalries still existed. Many species still did not trust each other completely. If these devourers were as dangerous as the architects claimed, the galaxy would need to work together like never before. Soman, he said, contact every species in the galaxy. Tell them we have a situation that makes our old arguments seem very small. Already on it, Admiral, Soman replied. I'm sending the sensor data to all council members. They should receive it within the hour. Over the next few hours, reports came in from across the galaxy. The approaching fleet was indeed massive. Preliminary counts suggested over 1 million ships, each one larger than anything the galaxy had ever built. But more worrying were the effects these ships had on space itself. Wherever the Devourer fleet passed, quantum uncertainty decreased. Space became more solid, more predictable, more dead. Stars stopped flickering with quantum possibility. Planets became locked into single orbits. Even the cosmic background radiation became perfectly uniform. They are turning the universe into a machine, Dr. Hyunwoo observed. A perfectly predictable machine with no room for creativity or change. The response from the galaxy was swift. Species that had been enemies for thousands of years agreed to work together. The Zephyrian battle hives offered their swarm tactics. The Krillian Empire provided their largest ships. The ethereal collectives shared their knowledge of space-time, manipulation, but it was the smaller species that surprised everyone the most. Races that had been ignored or bullied by the major powers stepped forward with unique technologies and creative ideas. The mining species offered to hollow out asteroids for mobile bases. The agricultural worlds provided supply lines. Even the peaceful philosopher species contributed by working out battle strategies that no one else had considered. The architects were right, Minho said as he watched the Galactic Alliance forming. We needed to be united. Not just the big species, but everyone. As the Devourer fleet drew closer, humanity's quantum displacement technology spread to more and more ships. The galaxy learned not just how to build the devices, but how to think in quantum terms. Reality became fluid, possibility became a weapon, and uncertainty became the greatest strength. The galaxy that had once mocked Earth for sending one ship now placed its hopes in the quantum principles that one ship had demonstrated. The battle for the very nature of reality was about to begin. Admiral Minho Park stood on his bridge, surrounded by displays showing millions of Allied ships taking positions throughout the galaxy. The Defiance floated nearby, still small and simple-looking, but now recognized as the ship that had changed everything. Dr. Hyunwoo, Minho said, are we ready? The old scientist smiled and raised his cup of tea in a small salute. As ready as anyone can be to defend the fundamental nature of existence itself. The Devourers were coming, but they would find that this galaxy was not like the others they had consumed. This galaxy had learned to embrace uncertainty, to find strength in possibility, and to unite in the face of the impossible. The galaxy had mocked when humans sent one ship. Now that one ship's legacy would determine whether reality itself survived, or became just another dead, predictable machine in an endless void, the battle for quantum possibility.